Hey everyone. This event started and our relationship with SJCA started. I'm the chairperson for Creative Pitman here, which is a group of creatives. We're a nonprofit project in Pitman, New Jersey. The Pride project started as an idea within Creative Pitman at the table. The project was then taken out of our group because we realized it had to go to the full community. We do have a very robust community of allies and queer people in this town. One of our members, Josh Hitchner, he took it out of the group and started scheduling meetings. We had our first meeting literally like 2 days before the lockdown happened. That included members of the community at a small yoga studio in our uptown area. We planned many different events for last year, but everything kind of had to be shelved because of COVID and some other things that we'll talk about later. But one of the things we were able to do last year was distribute flags in the borough of Pitman. Last year, we distributed the traditional Pride flag. We were able to distribute 168 of those flags in our borough, which might not seem like a lot, but we're a borough of about 9,000 people and a dozen churches. It was a significant step for our little town to see all of those flags hanging up. And it was a very significant step for the members of this team to see people grab on and accept what we were going to be doing. It's been all positive feedback so far as well. We're really lucky, I think, to have such a great collaborative spirit here. So that's where it started. It started as a little idea. We took it out of the team, and now we're 2.5 years past when we first initiated the first Pride event in the town.
Last year, we had flags, like as you said, flying through our town. You know, you would walk around when really that was all you could do. Just take walks with your family, trying to keep everyone safe. And you know, seeing the flags was such a gorgeous, wonderful, inspiring thing to know that we could at least do something to make a presence during Pride Month. The thing that's basically going to be kicking us off for Pride here is more flags. Karen Stanwood, who is a parent and volunteer in our town, she has basically hit the ground running since she's joined our organization, and we're really thankful for her and all of her hard work. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit about her journey to the Pride Alliance and how we're going to decorate our uptown with flags. So,
hi everyone, thank you, Kara. As Kara said, my name is Karen Stanwood. I have lived in Pitman for about 30 years. I have raised my daughter here, and she's my raisin, and she does identify as LGBTQIA+. She feels very strongly about representation of that community, and she has instilled that in me as well. So I very serendipitously found the Pitman Pride Alliance Facebook group and immediately saw that as an opportunity to both represent my daughter and other people in the community. So I sat in on the first volunteer call. I'm not a person who volunteers halfway, so I really did jump in, as Kara said, because I do know that ideas don't become reality, especially for organizations like this, unless volunteers step up and do the work. So my main project for this year's Pride events is to hang Pride flags on our town's historic light poles uptown. This has never been done before. We had decided this year to go with the traditional Pride flag, although we can talk about our Pride flag distribution for the community, where a different decision was made. But this, like I said, this has never been done in Pitman before. I personally felt strongly about having the probably most recognizable Pride flag symbol for this first year. So it's certainly something that we could consider moving to the progressive flag in future years. But this year it will be the traditional rainbow Pride flag. It was approved by council on my application, and on June 1st, we will be hanging pride flags for the entire month of June. So as Kara said, this is really kicking off our series of events for the month and really representing Pride and the LGBTQIA+ community in our town during Pride Month. And Patrick, I know you're working on some other initiatives.
Okay, so I guess we'll go to me unless Kara has something she wants to say first.
No, Patrick, you know, I would love to have you share your piece of this as well. Okay. Okay.
I guess I hadn't realized till just now that that Karen and I have both lived in Pitman for about 30 years. I grew up in West Deptford, which is where I am right now at my father's house. But when I first moved to Pitman, I was in my 20s, and I certainly didn't expect Pitman to be a place where there would be a not if when they would celebrate Pride, but when. I assumed it would not. I didn't even envision if, and have watched the community evolve in a positive direction over those 30 years. So it's been really gratifying. I hadn't gotten very involved with the Pitman Pride Alliance until Danny invited me not too long ago. She knew my background as a classroom teacher. I taught for 20 years. And for the last 15, I've worked for the New Jersey Education Association, NJEA. And so with those connections, she thought a natural fit for me would be books. So we have a new independent bookstore in town called Words Matter. And it just so happens that the woman who owns Words Matter, Carol Hausman, I taught with her mother in Washington Township. So there's already some other great small town connections there. And so the idea is that we're going to have a display of LGBT friendly literature from K to 12. So really the educational aspect of it. So I went to Make It Better for Youth, which is the organization that has helped write the LGBT curriculum that was a result of the law passed 2 years ago that New Jersey must have a curriculum that is inclusive of LGBTQA+ and persons with disabilities. And they have been writing that curriculum and came up with a really wonderful selection of literature for elementary, middle, and high school. And so I've selected about 5 titles from each of their selections. And in addition to that, have added a book, because Pitman, as it was described, is a town with lots of churches. And Ross Murray, who is with Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation up in New York, is also a person of faith. And he founded a camp years ago that is for LGBT youth who identify as Christian. And he's written a book about that and how Christian churches can do ministry, because, you know, Christianity doesn't have a great name when it comes to LGBT issues. It's more of a trigger warning. So I thought that would be a good fit for the book display as well. So the bookstore in town is going to have a book display for the period of the month. And also we have the celebration at which we're going to have this display. Plus I'm going to have all the other books that are recommended by Make It Better for Youth. And we also have a thing called pop-up parks in Pitman. And we were invited to do one of those on a Thursday afternoon. I think they're every Thursday through the summer. And we got the first one in mid-June, and we'll have some materials there. I think others will talk about those, but among those will be this literature. So that's my part of the story.
Thank you, Patrick. You know, you mentioned our pop-up parks, and it reminded me that one of the things that have, I think, kept us going is that there has been a lot of support, not only from our businesses, but our Chamber of Commerce, our council. It has really allowed us to really dig in and allow this event to come to fruition in spite of the obstacles. I'm going to turn it over to Justin Burns next to explain our art walk. This was an event that, we thought would be accessible last year during COVID in light of the shutdown. And we had a lot of businesses who were excited about it. But we talked about, as a group, that one of the important things about, leadership is knowing when to take a step back. And a year ago yesterday, George Floyd was murdered. And a lot of our group, a lot of people in our community, trying to be mindful of, honoring that period of time and not moving forward with a big party in any way that we could have had it last year. We felt was the right thing to do, to show solidarity, to show support for Black Lives Matter. And so it was with that in mind that, we postponed the art walk until this year. And Justin's going to take us through that now.
Thanks, Cara. So my name is Justin David Burns, and the art walk has been the project that I've been overseeing. Just like you said, last year is really when the idea originated. It kind of grew from COVID because it was a way to still connect with people, but safely distance. This year, same idea in mind, but I mean, really what it's about is having a creative outlet for artists to express themselves, especially something important like this. This year, our prompt or theme for the artists to work off of is called the meaning of identity, and what that means to you, and allowing them to express that. The second biggest aspect of it is public access to art. That's something that I think is really important to myself. Having something like this for people to go see and enjoy just while they're walking through the town. And it's just very thankful that we've had so many businesses that were really interested in giving up their window space, basically, for the entirety of the event, to allow artists to, really have full reign of everything.
It's really inspiring. And, Justin, you and I have been working on this project together. I am a board member for the Chamber of Commerce here in Pitman. And while Justin is, has this vision of, how our uptown can become this welcoming, affirming space for LGBTQIA people, I have the connection to our businesses. And this whole movement has inspired me. I am an author and I love to play D&D. So I'm always looking for inspiration everywhere. And I find it so much in my team and in the conversations that I've had. One of the things that I've been trying to be mindful of is another piece that I'm working on is curating vendors and food trucks for our big event on the 26th, along with Kamal Johnson, who is another event coordinator and resident in our town. And I've realized that, in my working with the chamber, that a lot of our businesses, because of COVID, they're impacted by stress of, trying to figure out how to reopen when things open, how to navigate the different, recommendations from the CDC. And we've gone, I guess, back to this grassroots way of trying to get people involved. And one of the things I've been doing is reaching out one-on-one to our businesses, trying to fit in to their time when, they can have a conversation while they're, in between when they're at their shop or with their families. So, and I think that's something, the spirit of that I've seen kind of, radiate back out through our whole team, where we have a lot to do. Events there are a lot of moving parts, and, a lot of us have worked on different events in town, or, with different organizations that we participate with, or with our churches, and it's just a lot of work. So, but it's really gratifying work. And one of the things that, keeps me going is, I spoke with Kathleen, the owner of Crave, and her enthusiasm for this event. Her business is a business that pushed through and opened in the middle of this pandemic, and has been such a joy and a blessing to our town. And her enthusiasm for supporting our event and for being generous has just been really wonderful and appreciated. We have so many businesses like Restored Antiquity, and Kristen Harris from Seeds of Love, who is one of the original members of the Alliance, and opened her home to us, her business to us as the first home for this planning event. So you look at this journey, it feels like a lot of connecting circles where you figure out how to get through this hard moment, and because you're supported by your team and you're supported by the enthusiasm of the people around you. So I'm excited to have our vendors and our food trucks, some of whom have been a part of other festivals in town in Pitman. And I'm grateful for the lesson that this event has brought me, and that's to be mindful of the fact that we're all volunteers and we are all working jobs or taking care of our kids or homeschooling our kids, and I've seen so much equity and people reaching out and saying, all right, well, you have this going on, so let me take care of this. And I think that has made it so wonderful. So I'm gonna I'm now gonna pass it back to Danny and see if she wants to share a little bit more of the things that she's been working on. And
so the last thing that that we're working on is actually, I just got a text message when we all started talking. We're distributing Progress Pride flags this year in our little town. We made a decision last year. We distributed traditional pride flags and also identity flags. People were able to ask for flags for their front lawns that they associated with what they personally self-identify as. This year, we're only handing out Progress Pride flags because I don't know if you know the history of that flag. That's the flag you see a lot that has the chevron shape of the black, brown, and then the trans flag colors. That was designed by Daniel Cassar. He is an artist based out of Portland. And he combined the Philadelphia Pride flag and with like two other, I think, flags that emerged in between 2017 and 2018 and created the Progress Pride flag to show that there is still movement that needs to happen through the LGBTQIA+ community by placing the black and brown and trans colors against the area where it hangs. He was trying to depict the concept that we have a lot to do still. We have a lot of work to do. And in our town of Pitman, we are trying very, very hard to do really good work here. There are a lot of organizations and a lot of people who are stepping up to take on the big, hard conversations that happen in a town that is 96% Caucasian. And they're not easy conversations to have, but we're doing it, and we're doing it with a collaborative spirit and a lot of open-minded learning and groupthink. And I think that's where Pitman really stands out. Like, we have the ability to work together in a way here, and we're creating, like, I keep saying to Kara, it's like it's our house, right? Like, we're creating a home here for people, so everybody feels safe, especially our queer youth in town. There are kids here who need to know that there are queer adults here who made it. We're here and we're doing cool things, and you can come and get your face painted and have a snow cone or something, But yeah, that's what we're working on now. I think, Julie, this should probably be a good time to open the floor up for questions, right?
Great. Well, we can certainly do that. It's not a huge group, so if you would like to ask your question directly, you can either turn on your camera and raise your hand, or you can raise your little electronic hand, which you can get to through the participant window menu down at the bottom. Or if you are a little shy, that's okay too. You can type your question in the chat box, and I will funnel it through to the panelists. But I had a couple of questions for you guys to kind of get the ball rolling here. First of all, I just want to say, fantastic story of collaboration and community, and I think it's a wonderful example to communities throughout South Jersey that you can find support for the work you're doing, even if it seems unlikely because of timing or topic, or trying to cross sectors can be difficult for the arts community. And it seems like you have had a lot of luck in crossing that boundary into the private sector and having your community businesses support what you're doing. Can you talk a little bit more about that collaboration? And I know you're, Cara, you're with the Chamber of Commerce, so you had a foot in the door there, but can you talk a little bit more about how you pursued those relationships with the businesses and got them on board with your event and your movement?
Well, I would say, Justin definitely laid the groundwork. So Justin, feel free to chime in here because, you definitely made connections last year. And so a lot of our businesses were patiently waiting for this movement to return. So if personally, I kind of approach it the same way I approach reaching out to any vendors. I start with a conversation and I like to talk on the phone. It is, I found that it is something that a lot of vendors like to do because they can kind of walk around their shop and they can talk with me about their ideas. And that's been true of the vendors I've worked with on other events, and it's been true for our businesses in town. A lot of times emails are overwhelming, and it's Facebook Messenger, Instagram, each business kind of has their own way of wanting to communicate, and I try to be like empathetic to that and create a space where this is going to be a blessing to them as much as it's a blessing to us, and not something that causes any sort of like puts anything, any amount of undue stress on their plate. But Justin, I don't know if your approach is different, or if your connection with the artist has been different, but you laid a lot of that groundwork last year. So
yeah, it kind of like you said, last year it was a lot of just asking the businesses if they wanted to participate, going through the Chamber of Commerce, collecting their information, following up with them, kind of clearly communicating what we wanted to do to make sure that they understood what they were agreeing to. And I even myself in the very beginning wasn't sure exactly how it would be received because, when you choose to let us use your windows for something like this, you're really allowing us to almost speak through your business. So I wasn't sure if some of them would be uncomfortable or not ready to have their business spotlighted in this way. But to a great surprise, and I think Cara, you would probably agree that it's overwhelmingly, yes, it's positive. It's been really great. They're very open and excited to work with us. So it's been kind of like a blessing, really.
definitely. And, Danny, as an artist, made a really important contact with Words Matter and Carol. So Danny, I don't know if you wanted to talk about a little bit about that experience, because Carol's enthusiasm, I think, has really, impacted all of us in such a great way.
Sure. So Words Matter, as you keep hearing this business popping up, it's like the home for our creatives now. When our gallery was our gallery closed because of COVID here. So we lost our creative home. And Carol took up the baton and she reached out asking about her window and wanted to talk about what was going to happen. Was the Pride Alliance going to do what we did last year? Were we going to offer some kind of window display form or something she could sign up for? So we chatted a little bit and I side messaged Cara about it, and in talking to Carol and talking about her business name, came up with an idea with Carol in mind. Carol's going to have a display in her window of pronouns, all pronouns that LGBTQIA people currently use. People can submit the pronouns they use, and we're going to do some signage in her window. Like hundreds and hundreds of pronouns are going to be hanging in her window. And she was like, make it big. I want people to see it when they're, in traffic. Like, let's do it. Let's do this. And she was really, really enthusiastic and wonderful about the concept, but she also gave us some pointers about like how important it was that we were thinking about her branding for the window. We were thinking about words matter, using language, using a font that has to do with her branding. Her branding is all in typewriter font and certain specific fonts. So we're going to use her fonts from her branding. And she was like, you know, as a business that's just starting, it's really important to think about those things. You don't want to overpower what a person's working on, their brand, their name recognition. So it was a really great conversation to have. And she gave some really good ideas and a lot of support for Justin's concept of people walking by and it not just being a beautiful art display, but also a time of solidarity and education, that things that art can do. They can do a lot of it, you know, it can do a lot, but it'll also be a great community building time where our members of our community will learn the first names of our business owners and we can kind of blend all the lines together a little bit more. It is a small town and we do all kind of know each other like a little bit a lot. So it would be really cool for all of that collaboration, I think. I'm really excited for it.
That's fantastic. Collaboration, I think, is going to be key to recovery after this pandemic and in addressing topics like this. And I always love a story of artists collaborating with private businesses and with their communities to not only show what they're working on, but like you said, to integrate the branding or the stylistic components of the businesses or the partners that you're aligning yourself with into your work. So it really is a true collaboration. And I think
it's perfect too, with Kara being an author, it being word-based. I have a print, like the big printer. Carol's got the vibe. Like it's a perfect little triangle of collaboration of everybody's specialties. Like we can all do it. It's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited about it.
That's fantastic. We did get a question here about the itinerary for the event. So do you want to talk a little bit more about key dates that are associated with the event, ways people can get involved prior to the actual event, or the dates of the events, and specifically what will be happening?
Kara, I pulled up the whole list for the day of the timeline, if you wanted me to share that, apart from like all the itinerary.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I pulled up when V asked it. So we have the two events, the pop-up park on the 17th, which will be from 6 to 8 p.m., where we're going to be distributing our t-shirts, which Karen has been working on and were designed by my illustrious husband, who is like the resident graphic designer for all of the events. He did Summer Swelter, our beer festival, and our Harry Potter festival, which was shut down, but that's okay.
Will most likely be printed by a local business.
Yes, it's so exciting. Keeping all the money in the fam. The big event though, the main event is on the 26th of June. And that is going to take place at First Baptist Church, which is on our main street in town. It's also the home of a brand new nonprofit community center called the Lighthouse, which I am on the board of, and Vanessa James over in my right corner is also there. She's in that board as well. We're going to be holding it there, and they're sponsoring our insurance for the event. So that's another collaborative thing you have to think about when you're going to pop a big giant event on your community. You have to make sure that if anybody falls on their face, it's covered. So that day, we broke down all of our different ideas into chunks of time so that it's not an overwhelming concept to have a 12-hour long event, but it is going to be 12 hours long. So from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., we've set aside time for guest speakers. We're fully supported by Garden State Equality. So Garden State Equality's executive director will be coming to Pitman. Christian will be speaking and bringing all of the information they can possibly bring. They are spitballing, trying to get permission for a vaccination vehicle, all different things from Garden State Equality. It's one of the only events that they're going to be supporting that whole day. They'll be there. So that's pretty exciting. We'll also have someone speak from our group, and any other groups that sign up to be community sponsors will have a chance to talk then about what they do and spread their information. From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. are the vendors and food trucks, plus LGBTQIA plus community services and resource groups, which Kara and Kamal are working on. And we'll also have kid-friendly crafts and games set out. Our Girl Scouts, the little ones and the older ones, are gonna hopefully be there and supporting the event in some way as well. From 4 to 6 p.m. In our recent meeting, we decided that we're gonna have a quiet time. So all of the vendors will be gone. All of the food trucks will be gone. There'll be no generators on site. We're gonna have something that we're calling Reverent Quiet Hours, where we're gonna put up history displays, the names of trans people who've been killed this year, and any other information people wanna bring to the table about the truths of the ongoing struggle of the LGBTQIA community. We're gonna have 2 hours set aside. It will be a quiet time. There's not going to be music. You can come and sit, you can come in conversation, you can do whatever you need to do, but the party will break there. From 6 to 8 p.m. we're going to have a community picnic, and this is another way that we're choosing to collaborate. The community picnic, we're steering people back uptown to grab food and then bring it down. We're going to set up tables so people can go get their food uptown and then come down and we can all eat together. We'll have music and then a dance party from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. because that makes a lot of sense to have a dance party. And that is a giant 12-hour event broken down into little tiny chunks of a lot of time. But it's totally doable. We're really excited about it.
That's great. And I can send the abridged agenda out as well with the post-event email that I'll send with this recording and other information, any links or other information you guys want to include for the group. Great. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions in the chat, but I had one other question for you. We are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, but what have you been doing to think about and address protocol to have the crowds there for the event? And have the business owners been concerned about that at all? And what were the challenges or successes you had in dealing with that aspect of this event?
So a lot of our businesses have taken it upon themselves to, communicate with our community about, how they feel about wearing masks. It has been, I've noticed a couple businesses, Alchemical Sisters and Kelly Green, have decided to, let it be up to the shopper. When it comes to our event, we planned out our event to be a masked event, and we also, positioned our tables and how many vendors we could fit, how many food trucks we could fit, and we chose an outdoor event so that we could, follow social distancing and be understanding that, people might feel a little bit that they want to wear masks and that they want to keep distance. So I know that safety is a really important concern of ours, not just when it comes to COVID, but for our community as well. We are, the LGBTQIA community is a vulnerable one. And, we've had conversations about, making sure that we rope off our front so we know exactly who's coming in, that they are seeing South Jersey Equality right at the front. So they are getting literature about health and wellness and about, so all of those things, being mindful of our event and how our crowd size will be, lots of conversations that are ongoing because we, are still working on things. So if anyone else wants to chime in.
I ordered rainbow masks to give away too. That felt really important.
Yeah. So, if we could give those away or offer them up. One of the vendors I hope to get is a mask vendor. So if anyone forgets theirs, that would be fun too. Because
I was muted that whole time I was talking. That's really cool. I got rainbow masks. We got rainbow masks. So people show up and they decide the crowd is too much and maybe they were unmasked because that you don't have to be when you're outside and our event is entirely outside. But if they show up and they feel overwhelmed by it, so these will be around and you can feel safe because that's the whole idea is we want you to feel safe. So we have like 100 of them. So they'll be there if you come and you forget your mask.
That's great. It looks like Natasha Fritz has a question that she would like to ask.
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry, but I forgot it. So we can move on.
Okay, no problem,
have-
no problem. Okay, wonderful. So even collaborations with the masks, it's through this entire event, you can really see that you guys have been working hard to make connections and use them to help bolster the event and make it really high quality, and you've thought about ways that you can integrate all different participants in all different ways, and that's really wonderful. Okay, well, at this point, does anyone else have any other questions? I haven't seen anything else come through in the chat. Nothing? Okay. Well, if you do think of questions after the event or after this event and you want to ask the Pride Alliance of Pitman, I will include their information in the post email from this event, and you can always reach out to them directly, or if you want to reach out to SJCA, I'll make sure I pass your questions along. It sounds like a wonderful event. Fingers crossed for great weather since everything's outside. I hope to see you all there. Good luck with everything. And as always, please let me know if SJCA can help in any way. We're happy to have you here telling us all about the event and your ability to pull it together and work within your community. And it sounds like a fantastic program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. And this opportunity has been wonderful. And thanks, team.
Yes, yay for teamwork. Good job, everybody. It's so needed, so needed. Okay. So I'm just going to share one quick screen as we part ways here, just to say thank you again to the Pitman Pride Alliance for presenting about their event. And thank you to the sponsors that make programs like this and the work that SJCA does possible. We are going to send a short survey out to you with the post-event email. So if you could just take 1 minute and fill that out, let us know if you liked the event, what topics you might want to hear about in the future, and what SJCA can do to help support the vital work that is happening in arts and culture in South Jersey. So thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and good luck with your event.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.